Virus 13, Chapter 35. In a dark security room, bathed in the glow of the video monitors, Ed was looking puzzled. The screen showed the break room where he had locked up the black health, Homeland Health agent. The room was empty. That is, almost empty. Mysteriously, the agent's clothes were lying in a pile on the floor, like the man had evaporated into thin air. The thought of a naked and angry government agent prowling the corridors of the building made him cringe. The boss was surely not like that. A quick scan of the screens from other parts of the building gave him no clue as to where the guy could have disappeared to. Without security access, the agent wasn't going very far, he assured himself. Dr. Spickerman had been very specific about that. Right now, only Ed and Dr. Westman's thumbprints could open the doors locked by the quarantine. Where the hell is he? Ed had to investigate before leaving the room. He went over to a large safe built into the wall. He placed his thumb on the touch pad and the door popped open. Inside the safe was an assortment of guns. This was his secret stash of contraband weapons, barrels shining heavy and black. After he strapped several of them to his belt, he walked down to the empty hallway, feeling strong and deadly with the weapons at his side. He thumbed one of the gun's heavy handles and its power surged through him like electricity. With a smile, he took off at a swift jog. With all the employees locked down by quarantine, the corridors were eerie quiet. Ed's black boots slapped the ground. Periodically, he would stop at a thick glass door and unlocked it by pressing his thumb against the touchpad. As he approached the break room, he slowed down to walk, catching his breath. Eventually, he came to a halt in front of the door. He used one of his meaty fingers to pop open the hoister at his side. With his left hand aiming the gun at the door, he placed his right thumb on the door scanner, which instantly tripped as the door slid aside. The soft gurgle of running water greeted him as he cautiously entered the room. There was a slight movement in the corner of his eye. He whipped the gun to the right but found himself aiming at a tiny waterfall running down from the overflowing sink. Ed's eyes scanned the rest of the room. There was no one there. Nothing was out of the ordinary except for the lump of clothes in front of the sink. He hesitantly approached the sink, kicking the clothes with his foot, as if the agent was the victim of some form of magical witchcraft. Ed's boot came away, shining with wetness. He raised an eyebrow and bent down to examine them closer. Not only were they wet, they were also smeared with dirt or something. What the hell? Ed's fingers were stained with what looked like black ink. He inspected the sink furiously. Curiously, it too was lined with a black substance. Ed was baffled. He didn't know what to make of this disappearing agent. The mysterious black mess and wet clothes. He walked out of the room at a loss for words. The agent had escaped and he needed to find him quick. Only Dr. Westman could have let the man out, but that was unlikely. As he reached for his phone to call the CEO, he heard it. Directly behind him, a small sniffle was sucking of air. In a flash of movement, he spun around, his gun drawn. To his further bewilderment, he found himself aiming the gun down alongside the hallway. No sign of the disappearing agent. Ed scratched his chin. "Fuck me," he said, embarrassed by his jumpiness. A feeling of uneasiness slipped through his guts like a large worm. Fearful for the safety of Dr. Wistman, he put in his earpiece and called his boss' office. After several rings, there was no answer. His uneasiness was now full-blown fear. Things were not going according to plan. The thunder of his boots picked up again as he broke into a full-on sprint toward the executive offices. The triangular tips of the ascending storm shields finally came into view. They continued climbing until only a pinpoint of sunlight was visible above, replacing the blue skies with gunmetal gray. Bathed in shadow in the red glow of the emergency lights, James shuddered. Aubrey had bound his legs and arms with duct tape to the chair he was sitting in. When the regular lights came on, James saw Dr. Wistman standing over the two bound Homeland Security agents. The agents looked back with fear. "No need to worry about arresting me, because gravity You both will soon be dead along with the most of the... We are going to put you away for a long time, the short agent interrupted. Dr. Whisper looked at Ari. Son, use more of that tape, please. Ari proceeded to wrap tape around the short agent's mouth. The man squirmed in protest, but eventually his yells were muffled and he lay there as a mute observer. That's much better, Dr. Whisman said. Now, before you interrupt me, I was about to explain about that the vaccine you received was actually filled with an active form of the super virus. So you will soon be dead, along with every government employee who has received it. The agent's eyes opened wider. Their cries were unintelligible underneath the tape covering their mouths. Dr. Grisman went on. The vaccine will disseminate the government, leaving no one between my virus and the billions of people it will infect. I have just sent out an emergency message to the Department of Homeland Healthcare that a new mutant version of the virus has escaped within these walls, and many of our employees have been terribly ill. I also explained that unfortunately, 4 of their agents have been exposed and are now under our watchful care. There will be no more coming to your rescue. At that moment, a thought occurred to James. Weren't you born with the cancer-proof genes? You should be vulnerable to the virus like everyone else. Dr. Whisman sighed and eased back into his chair slowly. Yes, unfortunately for me, I was born with the genes. But in our new future, we will need a strong leader. What? Are you serious? Imagine a world where fantastic men could pass on the best parts of themselves to their children, or even better, just recreate themselves as their clones. What would have happened if Alexander the Great had the ability to duplicate himself over and over again? But to answer your question, I am immune to the virus. I had a vaccine made for me and me only. You are on the psychopath. Do you even hear the words that are coming out of your mouth? If other cancer-proof individuals survive, they will want their children to be cancer-proof too. I can trust myself not to spread any more diseased genes into future generations. I cannot bring myself to trust anyone else. As he said that, he glanced toward Ari and Silvara, both of whom turned their heads shyly away. You're out of your mind. You have no right to decide who lives and dies, James pleaded, his voice breaking. He turned around and faced Silvara, who was looking pale. Her feverish skin had begun to glisten with sweat. And what about you, Silvara? You weren't born here at Gene Firm. That means you have the cancer-proof genes, too. Are you ready to die for Mr. Wristman's crazy plan? Silvara gave an unconvincing nod and then burst into a violent coughing fit. She did her best to regain her composure. The black voids of her eyes avoided James. Dr. Whisman nodded sadly. We did plan to spare Silvara, but our quarantine was not effective in preventing the spread of the flu virus. I know that she would face her death courageously. Now, he pointed to the agents bound on the floor. Ari, why don't you go lock up our visitors in one of the boardrooms? Make sure they tied up tight. Ari bent down and grabbed the feet of the 2 agents. With surprising ease, he dragged them downward the door like bags of trash. He stamped down the stairs. The thud of the agents' heads smacking each side step made James cringe.